What's up, everybody? Break MMA here to talk about UFC 314. I already knew this was gonna be like a solid card, like it seemed like it was going to be, but it was low key better than I thought. It was a lot of surprises um in this card, especially the main. Um, I want to talk about the main event first, though. Um, my goat, bro, my goat, bro. And I know, I didn't choose him to win, but guys, this is my goal, bro. Um, the curse is broken. The curse has been lifted, and honestly, if there was gonna be anybody to break that curse, it would have been um Volkanovski. Uh, I am pretty sad about Diego Lopes though. Um, I think he definitely could have capitalized a lot more on some of the exchanges in the fight. I think obviously the scariest issue was Volk's chin. It was never a debate whether or not um Volk was technically any better than Diego. I think everybody knew that he was. It was just the durability aspect. But dude, he ate a lot of good shots. You know, um, just all the way from the first to the fifth. I thought Volk dominated, controlled. Um, honestly, almost every part of the fight. He was mixing into the takedowns. He was outstriking Diego in every round. Uh, controlled the pace. Um, stayed on the back foot. On the outside. Jab, leg kick, jab, leg kick. I'm not even gonna be like jab, leg kick merchant or nothing like that. But he did what he had to do, bro. It would have been stupid for him to be to try and trade in the pocket with Diego, who favors and who would probably in all those moments where they were in the pocket of the fight, that's where Diego had his best moments. Um, and that's obviously where he wanted the fight to go too. That's where he would have been most comfortable. Um, bro, I was shitting bricks. I was shitting bricks throughout the whole fight, bro. Because as much as I know I said Diego, I thought Diego would win, but trust me, like in my heart, I knew I wanted Volk to win. And oh my gosh, that second round, I thought it was over. That second round, I thought it was over, bro. When he got dropped at the end, I was yo. Shout out B Dubs though, bro. Shout out Buffalo Wild Wings. They gave me a free poster. From the card. Got this shit hanging up in my room now. Shit looks so tough. Uh, so yeah, starting from the first round though, uh, I think he probably like Volk. Um, did the, I like I th- like after watching the first, I thought it was gonna be somewhat similar to the Ilya thing, the Ilya fight, where he did good in the first, keeping his range, staying out of harm's way, um, and he did pretty well um with getting some of his own strikes off in the first round, regardless. Um, yeah, and then in the second he got dropped, but he did very well in that round, and I think um people saw that at the end of the fight and forgot everything. I mean, in that round, and then forgot everything else that happened. Like the second round, Volk was dominating and even wobbled Diego, and then he kind of just got caught lacking, and then he got dropped. But he recovered very well. He recovered from all those big hits very well. He kind of just ate them. I'm not gonna lie. Like that was super surprising to see coming off. Maybe he definitely needed that time off to rejuvenate himself. And then in the third, it was kind of the same thing. Volk dominating the fight, dominating, using his jabs, keeping his range, feints, combos, all that. And I think round 4 is the only one you probably could have gave to Diego, even though I probably would still even say that it was maybe a 50-45, right? And then it's and then some people are saying Diego got robbed. This shit was no way a robbery. It was the most clear cut Volk win, and this is one of Volk's best wins. You know, um, I think he's now the second two-time featherweight champion, or third. I think it was Aldo and Max, or something like that. Or no, I think he might have been the second. I think they showed a graphic and that he was the second one. But yeah, Lopes dropped Volk again in round 4, and I thought that could have been it. And then in the 5th, Volk was just like as the fight went on, Volk just kept gapping him. Like the skill gap got so much bigger. Like, in the first round, obviously, it seemed like super close on paper because the durability issue was still a question. But as the fight went on and Diego kind of realized that Volk wasn't fragile, you could kind of see some of the ego, or not ego, but like you can kind of see some of the shift in like, damn, I can't kind of just like bum rush this, and because Volk was stinging Diego really badly. Diego just has a solid chin, but this was kind of looking like the Korean Zombie fight if Zombie was like, I mean, I guess you could say it was more like the Max Holloway fight. Honestly, yeah, it pretty much played out just like that. But I think a lot of the question of Diego, quote unquote, being robbed is after the fight, you see Volk wearing, I would say, most of the damage on his face compared to Diego, who kind of just had like a swollen eye and like a small cut on his nose. And there's gonna be people like, oh, look at his face. There's no way y'all think he won, bro. He obviously won that fight. He just got hit with some hard shots. Yeah, I think this makes Volk the greatest featherweight of all time. And I think that I'm not sure if he beats Mobstar though. I think that's still its own. It's still its own thing. Of how Volk would do against the grappling heavy style of Mobstar compared to like, we all know Diego was probably gonna come in and try to outstrike, I guess, Volkanovski. I think we all knew the striking aspect was probably gonna be Diego's best path to victory. And obviously, like, Volk had the Volk obviously has the better striking compared to Diego. So yeah. Now I really want to talk about Chandler and Patty, because this surprised the hell out of me. Patty was abusing Chandler, bro. Like, I thought, sorry, voice crack. I thought Chandler was gonna at least be more competitive. It seemed though he really struggled with the range of Patty. Patty was using a lot of good leg kicks, a lot of good body kicks, and in the first, when Chandler got a takedown, I thought it was a good moment, but he did nothing with it, and I guess it was something he did, I guess, to try and bury the ego of Patty, but I feel like that didn't make sense because Patty doesn't care about getting to the ground because he would want to be in a grappling exchange with Michael Chandler as opposed to a striking exchange, you know. And even though he outclassed him in both, you know. That's still probably the mentality because you know obviously Michael Chandler had more chance of knocking out Patty than he had of submitting him or doing any real harm on the ground. Um. Oh, and then that one crazy moment where Patty just what was it? It was like a clinch, and then Patty just jumped all the way up, just um threw his legs around Chandler's upper torso, and then tried to get submission attempts going on from there. But yeah, I had Patty winning obviously every round. The nut shot from Chandler, you know, cheating accusations ain't ain't leaving, bruh. You know. But I still don't know how good Patty is though. Cause now it's like, is Michael Chandler overrated or is Patty underrated? You know? Like even obviously yeah, Patty finished Chandler, but how good is Chandler still? You know, that's still up to question. And that's not gonna get answered unless we get a win off of him. Like if we, unless we give Chandler somebody that like a Moicano, like if he beats Moicano, then it's like okay, maybe we see how good Chandler is up to date. Like he can still be top 10, right? I think top 5 is over for Michael Chandler. This obviously he's obviously on the down end of his career. I think we already knew that though. Um, no longer can you count on but Michael Chandler can one shot him. That's not a thing. That's not a thing anymore. In the debates, he's just gonna have he's what Darren Elkins think he is, you know. And I gotta talk about him too, but I'm gonna talk about him when I get to him. Um, but no, Patty did very well. I was pretty impressed. I may or may not be a fan now. I didn't really fuck with Patty because I thought he was a little too cocky. Something about his accent and him calling people sausage kind of pisses me off. Kind of PMOs. But no, he did very well. He did very well. But I still don't know if he beats. I think he beats a Gaethje. I don't want to say, but he could probably beat Dustin Poirier too. If you know, if he gets a back take, or if he gets some solid submission attempt. I don't know because Dustin did very well against Islam, so I'm not too sure. But you know, Dustin wouldn't even take that fight anyway because he wants Legends only for his retirement. But the biggest question for Patty is Charles. I don't think he beats Charles. Yeah, I don't think he beats Charles. Obviously, he did better against Chandler than Charles did, being able to finish Chandler. But I think it's just because the biggest thing for Charles is he obviously knows his chin is kind of suspect. But even though Patty has some power, I wouldn't necessarily count on him to get a KO over Oliveira on the feet. You know, I think that probably comes in maybe like a super crazy exchange. Oh, I forgot to even mention it. The Patty knee, the jumping knee, and then I think it was like a hook or something to drop Chandler and then get the ground and pound KO was nasty work. That knee was the beginning of the end for Michael. But yeah, moving on to the Yair versus Pitbull. Honestly, bro, this fight was kind of mid, bro. I wasn't really too interested in either while watching. I thought Yair clearly won though. I think you could have probably gave Pitbull the second. How did they score it? Was it 30-27? Yeah, honestly, I'm not that surprised about it either. But the fight was pretty close. Yair just had, I guess he was just more active. He was the one advancing most, I'd say. Um, and I guess there was like a solid moment of uh Pitbull potentially getting a heel hook, and then Yair switching it to him in the heel hook position. But overall, the fight wasn't really that crazy. I think though that Yair winning and Lopes losing is gonna work out in each other's favor. I think that's definitely the next fight to make. And Pitbull should probably be ranked like number 10 or something. He showed that he's not an absolute bum. That he still has some skill level to him, but not enough to be top 5. But yeah, I got that prediction right though. Moving on to Bryce versus John Silva though. This fight surprised me. This is one of the surprising fights for me, because I started to buy into more of the Bryce Mitchell hype as the fight was getting closer, and I was like, damn, we've really never seen John Silva's grappling, and now we've seen it's actually underrated, bro. He just submitted Bryce Mitchell, and I think, if I'm not wrong, I think he submitted him faster than Ilya versus Mitchell. I think I can't really tell, because sometimes they go based off of like how much was left in the round and how much time the round was. But was it faster? I think it was faster. I don't even know. But regardless, I think it was a Darce choke, right? No, that first round. My fault. I gotta stay hydrated. Yeah, Silva in the first round was hitting solid shots on Mitchell, and really showed his grappling defense, which I thought was a very good sign in the fight. But I thought this was probably gonna be a knockout if John Silva was to win. I think he did hurt him badly before getting the choke, but I think we got to acknowledge now that Bryce is overrated. He kind of just clip farms. He kind of just aura farms. He just has a way on the mic to make you believe in him. But skillfully, he might not be that great. Either that or John Silva is just that good. And like I said, I got this right. I thought John Silva was gonna be perfect to perform when the lights are on and when it matters the most, type shit. And hopefully, I don't want them to rush John Silva, to be honest. I think they should give him whoever's number 10, number 9 right now, and then slowly start to give him the harder fights, because I think now it's gonna get real for him, and he's probably gonna have to fight less. Because I think if he tries to be super active within the top 15 of the division, that he's gonna lose. He's gonna lose a couple fights if he tries to do that, instead of maybe 2-3 fights a year, taking his time with solid training camps. But no, this was really good. This was really good. My go, John Silva. He may or may not be the next coming Willie Taporia. Ooh. Lukewarm take. This one really surprised me. Nikita Krylov versus Dom Reyes. Title run. The title run is back. It's, oh my god, he's back. There's no way. I thought I would have died before I seen another Dominic Reyes title run. Bro, I think you put it. Yo, he just. Oh my god, that shit was so crazy. Shit was so crazy. I looked down for 1 second on my phone. I don't even remember like most of the beginning of the fight. To be honest, all I remember was just the left hook of Doom hitting Krylov's chin, just pressing that button, just sleep. I look down and I see Krylov on the ground. At first, I seen like just the big body, just laying there, and it's like, no. I was like, no, Reyes, why, bro, no. And then I seen the back tat, and I was like, wait. Reyes doesn't have a back tat. No way, that's Krylov. And then I see the replay. Oh my god, yo, that shit was so crazy, bro. Yo, let's get Dominic Reyes in the top 5 now, bro. Let's get Dominic Reyes back in the top 5. Reyes is back. Oh my gosh. Now to one of the controversial fights on the card: Danny Ige versus Sean Woodson. I thought I had Sean Woodson up the first 2 rounds, and I'm honestly surprised that the judges had Ige up the first 2. I couldn't really tell you why, even though in the third the stoppage was kind of I feel like it wasn't that bad. I think Woodson avoided a lot of unnecessary damage that he was about to take anyway. He obviously got hurt with the body shots and you know, the up the ladder, whatever, from the body to the headshots, whatever. And you know what Danny Ige said in his post fight interview is true. You know, you have to look, like, as a ref, you have to look at, they tell you this themselves, that you have to look at the fighter's tendencies and what to do to keep them safe. You know, Sean Woodson, we all know, is a striker. Danny Ige Woodson, like, this fight was made because they're both primarily strikers. And you know, when strikers shoot takedowns, that's because they're hurt. You know, that's because they're hurt. And Woodson did just let kind of a lot of, like, from the whole exchange, from him being pressured on the wall or on the cage, to then getting dropped, he really wasn't answering any of those shots. You know, he wasn't blocking them. He was just eating them. So I'd say it's like it was still a little bit early, but it wasn't like the worst stoppage ever. Like, it had some reasoning behind it. But you know, the Sean Woodson train was gonna stop at some point. You know, I don't think he's that good. I thought he lost to Caceres. So, you know, lucky happy my son Ige got to get back for him. And you know, I'm glad he got a win now. You know, I chose Dan Ige to win that fight as well. So I'm glad I got my prediction right. Yan Xiaonan versus Verna. This was actually a solid fight. I know it kind of got a little bit boring at the end. I thought, like, in the first round, as the fight started, that Yan had the advantage on the feet, and that's what I said in my prediction video. But Verna's grappling is really elite. Like, just grappling diffed all 3 rounds. And I kind of noticed John DeRoba damn near has pecs, bro. Like, damn near man, dude. Like, I don't know, bro. She might be on a cycle or something, twin. Jan survived on the ground pretty well, like, avoiding getting submitted. I guess Jenna Robot had a slip on her for a submission by armbar on herself. Cause she went for the armbar, three separate times in each round, and all of them in the last 30 seconds of the fight. Um, yeah, but I think Verna is gonna pose a really difficult challenge for Zhang Weili, to be honest, because Weili has been kind of on the downtrend of her career and in her last performances. I think John Roba could definitely take advantage of that, and probably get the belt off of her in the same way that she just beat Yantu. Well, maybe not, because Weili has some solid wrestling defense, so it might be hard for John Roba to actually get her down. But we'll see. We'll see. I think I'm gonna just speedrun the last couple ones though. Jim Miller versus Chase Gooner. It was kind of a mid fight too. Chase kind of grappling diffed. Miller as well. It was a good performance though. Even though it was kind of boring, it was a good performance from Chase. Jim is the best skilled vet he could have fought. He showed a lot of great grappling, a lot of good ground control, and transitions and positions and transitions and grappling exchanges over somebody like as experienced as Jim Miller. He's losing his step now. I didn't think of it as much before, but he definitely lost his step now. He's a lot slower. He's looking at his age, He was getting gassed at the end. And Chase also used his range over Miller very well, using a lot of body kicks, jabs, keeping the distance. He played it safe. And he how do I say it? He fought exactly how he would have wanted to, I think. I think there's probably a better way to say that, but I think you all know what I mean. Julian Erosa versus Darren Elkins, bro. Bro, what'd I say, bro? It's just sad, bro. I think just for the love of your family, bro, just retire. Your nickname is The Damage, bro. Just, there's no point, man. You're about to be 40. If you keep getting fucked up like this, you're just gonna have CTE, you're gonna have Alzheimer's, all that shit, and you're gonna, what was it all for? I think, don't kill yourself over the niche, over the nickname, over the shtick. It was a terrible, pitiful performance from Elkins. He needs to seriously consider retirement. I get it if, like I said, he in his mind is Michael Chandler. He thinks he is Michael Chandler in his mind, but even for Michael Chandler, I can say he doesn't have to retire, and they're the same age. They're the same age too, because Chandler is still is at least still a top 15 level fighter in the UFC. And he's only lost to great people and Paddy Pimblett. But Darren is losing to a lot of nobodies now, bro. And he hasn't been top 15 level for a long time. He's maybe been 25, 20 in good moments and in good times of his career, but it's it's not him anymore. And I couldn't even say this is a solid win for Rosa. I wouldn't even say give Rosa a top 15 win for this. Sorry, I meant top 15 opportunity for that. But it is what it is, man. He a grown man. He gets to do what he wants in his career. Cedric Dumas versus Michael Oleksiejczuk. I'm actually happy Michael won. Macau. Sorry, I don't know if it's Michael or Macau. I'm actually glad Macau won. He got a very much needed win. Over Dumas. I know I chose Dumas, but it's just because Macau was on such a bad streak, that I thought maybe his confidence would have gone down, but I think I heard somewhere that he was training with the Fighting Nerds now, and I just happened to forget when making that video. But he did very well. You know, he got like a shovel uppercut hook kind of strike that wobbled Dumas, and then he finished him off with ground and pound. Um um yeah. Dumas was trying to debate the stoppage. I mean, he also ate a lot of unanswered shots. Same with Woodson. Like, they weren't unconscious, you know, and I think most fighters would only understand the stoppage if they had gone unconscious. But yeah. I don't know. I know Mikal had finishing potential, but I just like he hadn't been able to win in like 4 or 5 fights before this. So that's why I didn't pick him. Sumaderji versus Mitch Raposo. I low key don't have much to talk about this fight. I don't really see how I went to split decision. I had Sumaderji in my prediction, and I was right. I had Sumaderji winning the last 2 rounds. And yeah. I just have question of whether or not Sumaderji can still be a top 15 fighter in the UFC at flyweight, or if he's just gonna be one of these gatekeepers to the rankings now. You know, he's still young in his career. He still has time to develop, but I think he kind of hit his ceiling already. You know, it's just whether or not if he can maintain that level. But yeah. Tresean Gore versus Marco Tulio. Again, I don't really have much to say about this one. I had also chose Tulio, but he got a really nice knockout. My dog was broken. But I'm gonna try to cut that one out because that one was kind of long. But yeah, not much to say about this one as well, or the next one, honestly. But Tulio got a nice highlight reel knockout for himself, and he's continuing to build his name in the middleweight division. And I think you can make. Actually, no, don't make that fight. I was about to say you could probably do Tulio Mikal next. You know, because Tulio is obviously the prospect that everybody wants to see, and Mikal just got to win. You know, a win over Tulio would be good. A win over Mikal would be good. You know, just a little matchmaking. You feel me? They don't want to hit me up. And then Nora Cornell versus Haley Kawan. Good comeback win for Cornell. I think she was losing the first round, if I remember correctly, and then she just, second round she came back, got a rear naked choke, got a rear naked choke, and the second to submit Haley Kawan. But that's my reaction to UFC 314 Miami.